The Rams, they added Devontae Adams. They lost Cooper Kupp.
Oh, boy.
They won 10 games last year. This year's win total is set at 9.5. Here's their opponents. At home against Texans, Colts, Saints, Bucks, and Lions. Then on the road in Atlanta, Panthers, Jags, Titans, Ravens, and Eagles. Coach, we'll start with you. Their over-under is at 9.5. What do you got?
Yeah, they're going to go over. I see this to me is a team that's ascending. They were the third youngest team last season. I'm glad that the things with Stafford worked out. I think Devontae Adams is going to be a really positive addition to him. And that extra year of experience with such a young group, to me, there should be another jump that comes collectively. And when you look at the rest of the division, everybody else is struggling with different problems, especially the 49ers. Nobody has any idea of which 49ers team we're going to see.
Exactly.
And then you've got Seattle and Arizona, and they're
Arizona's Arizona and Seattle.
yeah, nothing screams from what they've done this past season to think, yeah, they're the ascending power in that division.
Yeah, I'm an over on this one, assuming Stafford's healthy, stays healthy. Like you said, Devontae Adams. McVay's a great coach. He's had 1 year, the year they only won 5 games. But outside of that, it's 9 or above. I know they got to get more than 9 here. But I think they'll get at least 10. I like San Francisco, assuming they pay up on Purdy. I like them next year.
That's going to be the difference if he gets paid.
But no, I think they're over.
All right, so we don't have any flowers or a doorbell.
I hope not.
Because this is a screaming over. This is one of my, I think, favorite bets on the board. Can we put up their schedule again? Because here's the other thing about it. They have at most 2 cold weather games, Ravens, Eagles. And I know I was batting around last week who that first game of the year, Eagles ceremony night, would be. I think Eagles hosting the Rams after that was a great playoff game last year is a likely candidate. And if you're the Rams, you really want your Eagles game as early in the season as possible because they are not a great cold weather team. But obviously all their home games won't be cold weather. Their road games, Falcons are in a dome, Panthers, Jags, Titans, all warm weather places. So I guess in Seattle could be a cold weather game as well.
Yeah.
But so I think that helps them. I think a kind of last ride Matt Stafford helps them. I think Devontae Adams will be better than what they were getting or were going to get from Cooper Kupp at this point in his career. I agree with Coach. I think that division is potentially one of the weaker divisions in the entire NFL, and I don't think the Niners are going to be a juggernaut. So I love the over for the Rams.
Yeah, it's I said this before when when I did the Herd Rams. Did I do the Herd Rams? Yeah. The 9.5 feels so low to me. It's just hard to imagine that they're going to be, technically like slightly worse or right around who they were last season. I just don't see how they don't take a step forward, even if it's just a marginal step forward. Also, Brew, and I know he didn't mean this as a negative, where he goes, well, McVay is a great coach. McVay is like an elite coach. McVay is a special. It's so funny how quickly we fall in love with certain coaches and players, but then we just kind of lose some of that momentum or fall out of love. And it's not like no one has really fallen out of love of McVay, but McVay, especially when they won the Super Bowl, his stock was through the roof, right? It was name your price. We'll pay you $200 million to be on ESPN or Amazon. It was just through the roof, especially when he was kind of flirting with retiring or whatever that kind of back and forth was. And people kind of just forget he's a special coach. And it's just hard to imagine that as long as this team is healthy and you have McVay and you have Stafford as your quarterback, you're gonna win. You're gonna win 8 games. I don't see how that's possible. You have the defense, you have the offense, you have the weapons, you have the quarterback, you have the coach, you have the coordinator on the other side of the ball on defense, and you're only gonna come away with 9 wins, 8 wins. Again, the only way that happens is with injuries, and it's a real concern, it's totally fair, especially with such an older quarterback these days in Stafford. So I do get it. But also when you look at this schedule, and I think, Nick brought up the good point about it's not so much the cold weather games, but you're just in more controlled situation. You're going to get just a little bit more moderate temperature. And right, Philadelphia, I mean, unless they're really playing in like November or something or December, it's the East Coast is these days, especially like it's not like it's going to be like a bitter freezing cold. Like, of course, that could always randomly happen in like a random September, October, but that's rare, especially for like a 1:00 one game. Although that's the thing though. They talk about some of these games like I imagine the Eagles always have a fair bit of national games, and so wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles and the Rams are like a Sunday night game or something like that, Thursday night, Monday night. You don't really know, but I would imagine it would be something of that sort. So you're probably looking at a night game. So I guess like it could be cold, but I don't think we have to overthink it too much. But you look at that schedule. If we just go through the easy wins and the hard ones, it's just like Colts you win, Saints you should win, the Buccaneers you should win. You should at the minimum be able to at least win one game each from the Cardinals, 49ers. That's 3 wins, so that's 6. And then and then you're going up against the Panthers. That should be a win. The Jaguars, the Titans, like the wins are obviously there. But again, some of these teams will be a little bit sneaky competitive. Like again, I think the Falcons will actually be a pretty good team. I really loved what I saw out of Penix. There's obviously still question marks with coaching and whatnot, but I don't think the Falcons are this like kind of like easy, like, oh well, we'll beat the Falcons. Like I don't think that's an automatic check mark. But and again, same thing kind of with like the Colts. It's like, who the heck is their quarterback? Like there's still question marks. But the Saints, like, did the Saints draft Shador Sanders? Now Sanders is out there, or Carr might be getting shoulder surgery. So there's like random questions about some of these teams. Do the Jaguars, does Trevor Lawrence get some momentum with his new head coach, who's kind of positioned himself as kind of like the next offensive guru, so to speak? He would probably have been so much more of a media pop. I feel like he didn't get as much attention as he normally would have because Ben Johnson took so much attention, and people are only willing to call so many people like geniuses and like the next big thing. But I feel like who they hired in Jacksonville, like if it wasn't for Ben Johnson, there would be a lot more momentum and energy behind that hire. So, that could be, a sneaky harder game than originally meets the eye. But I don't know. It's I think they actually have a pretty forgiving schedule with a handful of tougher games, but some of those tougher games could be a lot easier than you think, and some of the easier games could be sneaky tougher than you maybe originally think. But like, there's also, once you kind of reach like 4 or 5 games that I pretty much be like, I just can't see you losing this game. Again, now at that point, all you do is have to find like another 4 or 5 wins and like boom. And again, some of them are going to be in your division. So there you go. And some of those wins are going to be twice potentially, right? Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy over on my part as well. When I first saw the over under for the Rams and the 49ers and whatnot, like I was so surprised to see how much how undervalued the Rams are. I don't understand. I always try to figure out like the why. And it's just like, is it because you're predicting that like Stafford will get banged up or Puka Nacua? Because they do try to predict some, that is going to be part of their, their own way to kind of get to these things. They will try to figure that type of stuff out. But I'm just, are they anticipating like inconsistent quarterback play from like a Matthew Stafford? Like like how are they getting there? And yeah. Again, and unless there's a bunch of injuries or Stafford truly just falls off a cliff, I'm just not seeing it happen. And the weather should also support that to put him in a more controlled, less than ideal situation. If he definitely did have a lot of these other cold weather, harsher conditioned games, sure, then I could be a lot more open to that. But seems pretty straightforward when you're having games when you're going to be playing the Saints, the Colts, and the Titans. And like even if the Jaguars do get some momentum going, and Trevor Lawrence is able to get some momentum going, I'm still not like, oh, the Jags, man. Like, I don't know how you're going to beat the Jags. I'm like, yeah, again, it's Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae. I'm like, yeah, well, of course that offense can hang. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. 9.5 still seems so low. I'm still trying to like figure out how they truly got that number. to my guess is it's not about the schedule itself, and it's more about predicting that Stafford is out of juice. That's what I feel like. That's where they have to be coming from. Because Stafford did have some inconsistent games last season, but you know, I'm not going to rehash all of last season. I think there was a lot of causes and conditions that created like a perfect scenario for him to have a little bit more inconsistent of a season than you would hope. But yeah, 9.5 is low. 9.5 is low. The Cowboys are predicted to win 7.5. And I'm just like not gonna look at the Rams as only like 2 games better than the Cowboys. Just not seeing it that way. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Rams being undervalued? Over under 9.5. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Excuse me. Please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're definitely on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.